All right. Welcome to the Vendors Edge podcast. We're going to be talking about setting up a booth that sells itself at a market. When you're selling as a vendor, your booth and how it's set up and how it's perceived is probably one of the most important things that you can do and control as a vendor at your local market. So, we're going to be going over some critical aspects to your success at a market when it comes to your booth setup. One of the things you really need to understand about your booth is it creates an immediate connection with customers, and that connection can significantly increase foot traffic and sales. Um, in this episode, you guys are going to learn some practical tips for your booth that's going to help you set up your booth and make it a showstopper. It's going to make people want to come in. It's going to make your booth feel inviting. It's going to increase your sales, and ultimately your booth is going to sell itself. It's going to sell your products, and it's going to help you be more successful at your local farmers market. I'm Bill Davenport with Anchored Market Ventures. We're your number one source for vendor knowledge and empowerment. I also want to let you all know that starting December 6th on Amazon, you can go and get our book that's being released. We have a book called Farmers Market Success, a comprehensive guide for vendors. It's 187 pages of from A to Z about being a vendor at a farmer's market. It also applies to craft shows and festivals, but it really takes you from start to finish on being a vendor. We set it up so that it could be a quick guide that you can reference at any time. If you have a question, you can look at table of contents, see what chapter your question applies to. Just go there, and hopefully it can help guide you to maybe an answer that you're looking for, help you uh, set up and be successful and sell more stuff at your local farmers market. We're super excited about it. It's our first book, and we really think that this book fills a void that's out there. There's not a lot of information for vendors, whether you're looking to become a vendor at a local market or you're a newer vendor at a market, all the way to a seasoned veteran. We think this book provides a lot of value, gives you some things that maybe you didn't think about or didn't know. And we think it's going to get you set up for success and get you going down the right path. So we're really excited about it. It's our new book, Farmers Market Success, a comprehensive guide for vendors. It comes out December 6th on Amazon. We'll be sharing a link as soon as we get the book published and released, but we're super excited. And if you're interested, we'd love it if you'd go and purchase a copy. But that's coming out December 6th. But jumping in to our episode here, the first thing about setting up a booth that sells itself is first impressions matter. When it comes to uh, selling at a farmer's market, your booth is your storefront. Um, each vendor spot, whether you're a 10 by 10 spot, a 10 by 15, a 10 by 20, whatever space you're set up in at your local market, that is your storefront. I know a lot of times we think of a storefront being brick and mortar. There's got to be a door where folks look into your spot. That's your storefront. That's your door. Um, and customers are going to decide from that visual glance at your booth whether to approach or they're going to keep on walking by. And really, it comes down, you have as a vendor 3 to 7 seconds to make that initial impression. If it's not quick, they're going to walk by. You can't operate on the premise of, I have a good product, but I'm going to skimp on everything else and my product is going to sell itself. The dirty truth about business is very few products sell themselves. It may be the best product for an issue that somebody has, or the best product that people are looking for. But if the window dressing isn't appealing, it's not going to get the attention and or the sales that it should, because people are not going to give it the time of day and they're going to walk on and they're going to go to your competitor. It is important that you put time and effort into your booth, put time and effort into your storefront, and make it an impactful 3 to 7 seconds when somebody comes by your booth and it draws them in. It stirs their curiosity. It makes them want to come in and learn more, because that intrigue, that draw is what's ultimately going to help translate to a sale. When you're dressing up your storefront, one of the things you really want to take into consideration for that first impression is the power of colors. You want to have colors in your booth that are bold, but also complementary of each other. You want the boldness because it helps catch attention, but you also want to keep it simple because you don't want to overwhelm the customer. I know that's kind of, I want bold, but I want simple. You can have both. And you want your colors, if you have a brand that's color coordinated, say your colors are purple and gold. I'm just as an example, then you want purple and gold to be incorporated into your booth throughout. Now you can have another complementary color. Three is a great number for colors in your booth. You have, we'll say purple's your primary color. That's your bold color that stands out in your booth. Gold is your secondary color. So it's not quite as prevalent, but it's still used throughout your booth. And then let's say you have red. Red is an accent color. Because say part of your business is a bakery or some sort of food uh niched item. Red is a color that helps instill hunger, urgency. That's why in supermarkets or a lot of restaurants you see red, because red is a color that in our minds subconsciously helps trigger food responses. So you want to look at your colors in your booth, make them bold, keep them simple, but understand there is power in colors. So that's part of the visual appeal of your booth. Now, what goes with visual appeal is signage. Signage is huge for vendors at markets. You want to have a sign. There's a Let me step back. There's a couple different things about signage that is critical and that you should be applying. The first is a banner. You want a banner that's in the back of your tent that has your business, it has other pertinent information. I like to say if you're a farmer and you use no till, no chemicals, no pesticides, you want to highlight that on your banner. You can also put like your website on there. One of the things you don't want to do with your banner is clutter it. And that's with any of your signage. You don't want to clutter it so that there's so much information that what you want translated to the customer gets lost in the clutter and they ultimately get nothing from it. So you want a banner, you want I like to use or recommend sandwich signs. You don't want to get super small ones. You want to get a larger or a medium sized one that complements your booth. And then you also want signs amongst your products inside your booth. But signage is important for the visual aspect. You want to make sure that your business name and product focused are readable on your signs from at least 10 feet away. Now, that isn't every sign in your booth needs to be readable from 10 feet away. That's your primary signage, like your banner and your sandwich signs that go right at the front of your booth. If you use them, which I highly recommend you do, um, they need to be readable from at least 10 feet away because customers, as they're moving through a market, they're not only looking at the booth that they currently are at, they're looking at the next booth, possibly two or three booths down. So if you have a sign that's readable from 10 feet away or a minimum of 10 feet away, while they're at the booth next to you, they are able to read that. They're able to see what your products are. You want to list your primary products. They see your business name and maybe a website you can put on there. But on your signs, you can add some personality to it. And honestly, you want to add some personality to it. If your sandwich boards are of like the chalkboard background or board on there, you can add a little bit of charm, some handwritten message, or if you're real artistic or you have a friend that's real artistic, put a little flair in the writing on that sign. You don't want to get too carried away, but you can add some personality to that sign, which helps show a little bit of you, a little bit of your business. But on the other extreme of that, you can get some professionally made signs, some professionally made sandwich boards that aren't chalk, that are printed on there. And those are great too, because that sign gives off an aura of a polished feel, that it's a little bit more professional. But ultimately, whether you go with a chalkboard with a little bit of charm and artistic flair, or you go with the more professional, polished sign, you want to keep it true to you, your products, and your branding. So if you're a little bit more of an artistic brand, I would lean more towards the chalkboard. Even if you're uh, a homestead or a farming, chalkboards work great. If you're more of a professional uh, business where you're putting more of a professional front to your brand and your style, then go with the more polished look of a printed professional sign. But just make sure it's matching your branding. That's important, and that it matches you. And when it comes to booth, we want to talk about the layout of our booth. Um, you want to avoid blocking your entrance. I'll use an example that I see. I don't want to say often, but it's definitely not uncommon that I see vendors do at farmers markets. Is their idea is I will create a space inside my booth that customers can come into, but I'm going to put a table right at the front and a table at the side, and I'm going to create a small space for customers to come in. Like you're almost creating a door or a walkway where vendors come in. And I'm going to tell you from my experience and talking with vendors after markets that do that, a lot of vendors don't see the success or the sales or the customers coming into their booth that they were hoping, or honestly that their products demand. They have great products, but people are not coming into their booth to shop. And it boils down to, you created a barrier to entry for customers to come in. Customers are not going to come through a little 3-foot section that you created in between tables as a walkway to get into your booth. Customers are going to perceive that as, this is blocking me from coming in and seeing what's in this booth. And I would rather just keep on walking and go to the next booth that's open for me to go in. So if you're wanting to create a space inside your booth for vendors or for customers to come in and walk around and look at your products, don't hinder them to come in. So try to avoid tables that are right up at the front of your tent or the front of your booth area that blocks them from coming in, because that's exactly what customers are going to do. They're going to think of it as, they're blocking me from coming in. So be very mindful of that. I will also say, after talks with vendors at the market that have done that and given a suggestion or a recommendation of, let's open this up at the next market, or if I catch it and I have that conversation during a market and they're saying, I'm just not really making the sales, it's like, let's rearrange it real quick. Don't be afraid to change during a market. And when we open it up, they're able to salvage the last hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of their market and get sales going. Now, it's unfortunate they lost sales early on, but it just proves the point. You don't want to create a barrier for folks to come in. So definitely open your layout up, create inviting pathways. You can set tables in the center so vendors or customers can walk around your booth inside there, and all your products are on the center. They can walk around. There's a lot of different ways you can create an inviting space, but and also help guide people around your storefront. You also want to, with your layout, highlight a focal point. Think of it as a centerpiece. Um, you want to put one of your bigger or stunning products as a display or a demonstration area. So if you have um, a product that it's your number one seller and it's your number one draw, highlight it, make it a focal point somehow. You can do that by using stands, raising it up so it's easily seen. You can put lights down below that kind of shine up on it so it's a little bit brighter. There's a lot of different ways that you can highlight a product, but definitely give your number one, your number two products um, the attention, make them a focal point, and that's going to help draw people into your tent, and it's going to help them shop, and it's going to translate to sales. And then that also leads to lighting. Lighting is important. When you're at a market, you're going to have days that are cloudy, and those cloudy days are going to create dim lighting situations for you underneath your canopy. They're going to create uneven lighting, and that's going to make your product potentially look less appealing. So to counter that is to use lights. You can get some really inexpensive lights from, if you have a Harbor Freight around you, they have some great lights. Um, you can go to a lot of your traditional stores. You can get them off Amazon. There's a lot of different places you can get lights for your market, for your booth and your canopy. What I would recommend is getting either battery operated lights or rechargeable lights. I would shy away from getting electric lights that you have to plug in. A lot of places don't have electricity available or it's very limited. And on those dim, cloudy days, the last thing you want to have is no power accessible to you, and your lights are operated by some external power source and you're not able to use it. But you can use those lights, they'll help uh, give light into your booth, help make your products pop a little bit. Again, you can use those lights to help highlight a product in your booth to create that visual centerpiece. And then you can spotlight certain stuff. So if you got small little spotlights, you can set them up so it creates a little bit of a visual attractant towards some of your products or to an area of your tent. But lighting is important, and lighting should be a part of your game plan for making a booth setup that sells itself. And then that leads us into our product display. You want to set up, now that you've created a color coordinated setup with your tent, and you got the signage and you got the visual pieces down. Now we're going to be talking and going into product displays and setting up a product display that sells. And in some of my other videos, I've talked about if it's high, it flies. Well, there's another way of looking at it. Eye level is buy level. So you want to get stuff up as close as you can to eye level. That is the buyer's zone. Having stuff flat down on a table, no elevation, no texture, not having anything raised up, that's a recipe for disaster. You're not gonna realize the sales that you could realize, and doing something as simple as raising up your products can really make the difference between a lackluster sell day at your market or a day that's just exceeds your expectations. So people ultimately end up uh they tend to gravitate towards what's directly in their line of sight. If people have to look down, there's a good potential they may miss it. But as people just kind of walk by, if it's at eye level, it's a lot more likely that it's going to catch their attention. So with that, you also want to elevate your best products. Your best products are going to help catch the attention of shoppers. Your lower display should hold your secondary items or your bulk items. So really you want to think about premium items being high and all your auxiliary items being lower when it comes to setting up your product display. And then vertical space usage. We're talking about shelves and risers and racks. Shelving adds a dimension of texture and depth to your products in your booth, and it maximizes your display area. You can display more products in a space with shelving than you can just laying something flat. It also prevents your booth from looking cluttered. When you just have everything laid out on tables, it's real easy to get a feeling. And if you have that cluttered feeling, a lot of customers are potentially going to just keep on walking by because they're not going to feel like they want to dig through the clutter to see if there's something in there that they like or need. So the more we can keep stuff organized, the more we can declutter stuff, the better it is for you as a vendor, and the better it is for yourselves overall. So use shelving, and then you can use tiered small risers. Those are like the little smaller wire racks. You can use those. Those are really good for baked items or bread or candles, stuff like that. You should be using the smaller shelving and the smaller risers. Um, And the great thing about using bigger shelving units and the smaller tiered risers is that helps create a layered look. So you can use your shelving in the back, you can use your little risers up front. It gives a little bit of that layered effect where it's giving texture, it's starting to give your booth some depth. That really helps attract the attention of customers, and it does help your sales overall. And then with your booth, you want to use your products and your display to help tell a story. Storytelling is powerful for you as a vendor, for you as your brand, and it's also powerful for your products and getting them sold. So, you want to set your booth up so that it tells a story. So, for an example, if you're a gardener, use pots. Set it up, set pots and plants and different gardening tools as props. It helps create a garden theme, but it also can help tell a story about your gardening adventure and your gardening products. Um, and you can set your products up to show how your products solve a problem or fit into your customer's life. And with your products being set up to solve a problem or to fit in your customers' lives. This is where you can also use uh, tags, or you can print out a little story about a product and laminate it and have it there by the product. That helps tell a story in your booth via your product. So you can use your props and your layout and theme for your products, and you can use your products themselves and then tell a little story with them. But you definitely want to tell a story with your products whenever you can. Um, Customers love stories. It catches their attention, and it also ultimately gives them a reason why they want to support you, and through that support, they're going to buy from you. And then piggybacking kind of a little bit on the laminated cards, you want to have clear pricing on your products. Sometimes we feel, or I've seen vendors and talked to them afterwards that didn't put a price out, and they're like, "Well, I want the customer to come up and talk to me or ask me about the price so that I can engage them." That is 180 degrees out from what you actually want. You want your prices visible, easy to read, and easy to find, because the reality is a lot of customers are hesitant to ask the price. So if it's not visible, that customer or customers that are hesitant to ask the price, instead of asking the price on something that really intrigues them or that they want to buy, they're just going to walk on and they're going to buy from somebody else that has their price displayed. So you want to make sure your prices are visible. You want to use price tags um, that just display the price, but in conjunction with that, use little signs or additional little tags around the price with additional details. Like you can put on handcrafted with local materials, beyond naturally grown, no chemicals, whatever it is, you can add some additional information that's going to help align with maybe that customer's values, and that's going to help create the sale. So you want to have clear pricing, but with those price tags, you can also use some additional tags for the product that are going to help create the sale. And then that leads us into creating an experience for the customer. Your booth is all set up, you got great color in your display, a great layout, easy flow. You got your product set up, you got your best product highlighted, you got a little bit of depth and texture. It's at eye level, which is also the buying level. prices are very visible, everything's hitting on all cylinders. Now you got to create that experience for the customer. Well, how do you do it? You do it through engaging all of their senses. You want to engage their sight, bright visuals, organized layout, that keeps people longer in your booth. So you're attracting their sight, their attention. Now that you kind of got them peaked a little bit, catch them with the smell. Smell is powerful. Aromas can invoke memories, emotions. You want to think about like baked goods, fresh herbs, candles, all of that can trigger a memory, and memories are powerful. Like, oh, my mom's cooking. Oh, that smells just like my mom's cooking. Or, man, I remember my every time I went to grandma and grandpa's house. Oh, that smell. It makes us linger for things, or not linger, but it makes us earn for things that um of days gone by, and we want to recapture that. So smells are powerful. You want to use them. I will say there one word of caution when it comes to smell, and I'll give an example, and I love this. At one of our markets, we had a pecan vendor, and they sold pecan pellets, and they came up and asked, they're like, "Hey, if we get a little bit of our pecan pellets burning, that these pellets were used for smokers, like for smokers that used the pellets. Well, they took the holes of the pecans, made these pellets, and you could buy them for your smokers. And they were like, it would really help if people could smell the pecans pellets while they're out shopping it to help ourselves. And I'll tell you, this was kind of early on with me running markets. I was like, yeah, sounds great. Let's do it. And that first market they did it, I didn't really anticipate what was going to happen. They went a little extreme on the burning of the pellets, and that pellet smell was all throughout the market there for a while. I'll tell you, for me, I love the smell. But there was some people at the market that did not love that smell, and it was off-putting to them. So, if you're gonna use smell, I would say make sure you use it within reason. If you can smell it in your booth, maybe slightly over to the next, that's totally fine. But you don't wanna have some sort of smell just pumping out saying, "Oh, I love this smell," but 2, 3, 4 booths away from you, they absolutely hate it. That's not fair to them. It's not fair to customers that may not like that smell, but you want to use smell because a lot of customers are going to enjoy it. You just want to use it within reason. So that's kind of my cautionary tale when it comes to smells, but I'm a full believer smells are important for creating that uh, experience for the customers. And then you want to use sound. If you have a little speaker, something like this right here, a Bluetooth to your phone, you can have a little background music going on inside your tent. Um, or you can have a tablet and have a video, maybe a looping it in your booth of you harvesting honey or out picking your fruits and vegetables or working out on the farm or creating the crafts or doing a little woodworking, whatever it is. Create a little bit of background music or have a tablet set up so that it has a video on loop. But again, sound, you want to make sure that you can hear it inside your booth, but be courteous of the vendors that are around you. They don't necessarily want to hear um, the music or the video on loop. So have it so when customers come in, they hear it, it catches their attention, it'll spur that conversation, but not so loud that you can hear it throughout the market. And then you create that experience through touch. Texture is a huge thing. You want to encourage people to touch your products, to try it. Um, you can give samples of lotion, have them feel the fabric that something's made out of. For your produce, you can offer them a little cut piece so that they can sample it. But touch can really help create a connection with the customers. So engage all the senses or all of them that you can that are related to you, whether that's sight, smell, sound, or touch. Those are all important that you should be paying attention to as a vendor at a market. And if you can, add an interactive element to your booth. You can give a live demonstration, um, which also helps show your expertise about the product or an area of knowledge. Um, as an example, say you're a honey vendor, um, and you sell honey. You can have a little video or maybe a little picture book and show how beeswax candles are made as an example. Um, you can also show how the honey is harvested. You know, how a great example would be in the hive, you have the frames that the bees uh, create the wax and put the honey in. Bring one of those or bring a bee box to the market, have it set down inside your booth with a couple of those frames, because that's going to start conversation and that's going to help sell that honey. That is your booth doing the work instead of you. That bee box, those honey frames are selling the honey for you. And all you do is continue that conversation and complete the sell. So look at ways to have an interactive element in your booth. And then another great idea for an interactive element is some way to create a, a photo opportunity like a branded selfie spot. And I'll tell you, there is a vendor out there that does this better than any vendor I've ever seen do it. And it's David and Amanda Hansel of David Hansel's Art. David is an incredibly talented individual when it comes to art, tie dye, making ornaments, his woodwork, resin work. It is phenomenal. But where they really capitalize is on those photo opportunities. Every time David makes a sale with those customers at his booth, they do a photo op and they do it right here with a phone. That he makes a sale and the customers stand there and they hold the product. They say, I love this. And David takes the picture and they post it online on their social medias. So one is creating content for them. Two, it's showing satisfied customers. Three, it's showing off his beautiful work and it's driving attention. And those posts get shared. It gets viewed by people that have never seen David and his work before, that come and follow him on social media, find out where he's at. And it also translates into uh, custom orders away from the market. So it is a win-win. Photo opportunities are huge. I don't see enough vendors doing them, but figure out a way to create those branded selfies. It not only engages the customers, but it also provides free marketing on social media for you. I would love to see more vendors get on board with that, but that is a great way to help your booth and your display sell itself. And then that leads us right into branding and personality. Crucial. All of this ties into your branding and your personality ties into it just as well. Um, you want to have an infusing personality when it comes to being a vendor at a farmer's market. That's not saying you got to be over the top. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not the case. Not all of us are hitting on all 10 cylinders every market. There are some days, and I'll tell you this applies to me setting up and operating markets. There's some days I show up at at 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning to get things going, and it feels like I'm hitting on two cylinders. And my coffee hasn't hit kicked in yet, and I hear the birds chirping, and I just want to throw a rock at them. But I recognize that, and I try my best to not let it affect the others around me, the vendors that are showing up, and eventually I start hitting on all 10 cylinders. So you want to have an infusing personality. Ultimately, you you want to put your best foot forward, your best face forward. You want to look like you're engaged. Um, but that also translate you are a reflection of your booth. So you want to add those personal touches. You want to come there smiling. You want to come there eager to greet customers. You want to be the best likable person you could be at the market. Now, that also leads into the branding of telling your story. You want to use posters or flyers, having a printout on your booth. You can hang it up in there. You can use visuals with photos. Tell your story, explain your journey, how you started, why you're passionate about what you sell, what problems do your products solve, why your products are better in your opinion than other like products, but you want to tell your story. Stories are something customers get behind. Stories are things customers support, and they support those stories through purchases. They support your stories through telling other folks about you, which again translates into sales. So whenever you get a chance, tell your story, be authentic. You can use photos, handmade signs, unique decor that's authentic to you, but all of that storytelling is a part of your booth and it helps sell what's in your booth. And then this is something that some vendors do really well, other vendors don't do. And I think this can really be something that makes or breaks your your booth, and having a booth that sells itself is wearing branded attire, like having a branded shirt, if you wear an apron, ball caps, all of that helps to reinforce your business name to customers. When they see that, it imprints into their mind because they're seeing your brand and your company name on the signs. They're seeing it on your shirt, on your cap. It's repetitiveness, and that keeps it on your customer's mind. So when they're thinking about, man, who had those amazing tomatoes? That's right. That was Mr. Brad Reeder at 4R Farms. Those Slocum tomatoes were phenomenal. Well, when you look, you see 4R Farms. When they're selling, you see 4R Farms. All of that helps to reinforce your business into a customer's mind. So when somebody asks, "Hey, who has those amazing tomatoes?" Go see Brad for our farms down at Panama City Farmers Market. It just all of that helps sell itself. And then that leads us right into mistakes you want to avoid. So you've done everything right. You got a booth that's set up and visually looks amazing. You got products in there that are looking their best. They're highlighted, lighting's good. You got a centerpiece, stuff's elevated, texture, a little bit of depth. you got good signage, you're looking good, you got a little background music going, you're hitting on all them senses, and now it's game time. And boom, mistakes happen. First, I want to say, don't let mistakes get you down. They happen. It's not a matter of if they happen, they're going to happen. So you want to react to mistakes that happen as soon as possible while not letting it get you down or defeat you morally. It happens. We're human. We address those problems, and then we're like a duck in the water. We just let that water roll on off our back, and we keep on going and making sales and doing the best we can. But one of the things that we can avoid, or a mistake that we want to avoid, is an overcrowded display. Too much stuff can overwhelm customers. You want to have a display potentially that has fewer items, but those fewer items are your better curated items, your better offerings, your better products. So really focus on having a clean display, a full display, but avoid having an overcrowded display, because ultimately, if you just have stuff everywhere, too much stuff is going to leave the customer feeling overwhelmed, and ultimately they may choose not to purchase just because they feel overwhelmed with so many options. Another thing that we can avoid is poor signage or missing prices. Don't make people guess what you sell or how much it costs. So you want signs that say what you offer, and you want prices on the things that you display. All of that is going to increase sales, but if you don't have it, you're going to lose sales. And that's a mistake that we can easily avoid and not have happen. And here's a little pro tip: having a miscellaneous or a utility box with stuff that you may need packed up in your market kit, your price tags may have fell off. Well, instead of just putting a product and saying, I'll tell them what that price is if they ask, in your utility box, you got extra price tags. Take your Sharpie out or your pen, write that new price on it, put it on the product, it's displayed, problem solved, easy peasy. And then customer comfort, I'll say neglecting customer comfort, I would categorize this as at a farmer's market, ease of getting into your booth and your product. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't have a cluttered or blocked entryway into your booth. The wider you can keep your booth entrance so that customers can come in, the better it is for you. The more you block it, the more you're going to deter customers, something we can avoid very easily, and we want to definitely be paying attention to. And then this one really is the biggest mistake I think we make, and it's one that we need to really pay attention to, is an unfriendly demeanor. Always wear that smile, greet visitors. Hey, how you doing? Me, I love it when I see folks wearing sports shirts or sports hats or uh, clothing that has a city on it, because I can ask, hey, are you a Jacksonville Jaguars fan? Or, hey, are you a Miami Dolphins fan? Or whatever that city is. And with that can jumpstart the conversation. So find a way to greet folks. Um, However you greet them, you want it to be warm and welcoming, because that warm and welcoming greeting can turn a browser into a buyer when it comes to customers. So it's very important. Put that smile on. Again, like I was saying, if you feel like you're only hitting on two cylinders that morning, you got to power through it. This is where we're professionals. We're out there making a living, we're making sales, And even when we're not feeling on top of our game, we have to appear that we're on top of our game. So have that friendly demeanor. Don't be coming to a market with that unfriendly demeanor. That's a mistake we can easily avoid and we can easily fix. So that leads us right into, it's easy to create a booth that sells itself, but it also takes some very intentional thought, a little bit of planning, a little bit of work prior to the market to make sure that you have it set up. I would say at your home in the driveway or your front yard, backyard, wherever, set your booth up, practice your layout one day, get stuff, make some changes around in there. See what it looks like to you when you're standing outside your booth. Maybe have a friend come over and give some suggestions, some honest feedback to your booth. Um, but it takes a little bit of intention and a little bit of dedication, but it's something every vendor should and needs to be doing. You want to make your booth visually appealing, you want to make it functional, and ultimately it's a reflection of your brand. Engage customers, make their experience uh, feel like they're invited into your storefront, and make it interactive for them. So I'd really love to hear um, out of out of today's tips which one you're going to try, or maybe there's a few of them you're like, ah, I can easily do this. Which ones are you going to put into place? um, Whether it's improving your signage or adding a little interactive element to your booth, or a photo selfie spot for folks that purchase from you. And I'd love to hear your feedback on how it goes after you've tried it. Come back and let us know on our social media, whether it's Anchored Market Ventures on Facebook or on Instagram. Shoot us a message. We would love to hear as you implement these tips to your booth, how your sales correspond to it, and how your overall uh, thoughts are on how the process is going. But we definitely love to hear back from you on this. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to give us a review or give us some feedback wherever you're watching this. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. That's where you can find us. But I'm Bill Davenport with Anchored Market Ventures, and we can't wait to see you guys out at the next market.